solving multi-step equations. The first kind of multi-step equation is one in which contains like terms. So if you were asked to solve the equation 7n minus 1 minus 2n equals 14, because these two n terms are on the same side of the equal sign, we can combine them like we know how to combine like terms before going ahead and solving. I know that 7n minus 2n are like terms, so I can rearrange them and say 7n minus 2n minus 1 equals 14. I can do this because of the commutative property of addition, and I can actually look at this minus 2n as plus a negative 2n. So I'm keeping that in mind, knowing that subtraction's not commutative, but that addition is, to rearrange them to get them together. Now 7n minus 2n is 5n, and then I have my minus 1, which I cannot combine, equals 14. The smallest step, like combining those like terms, has gotten me from this long equation down to a two-step equation, one that I am familiar with. Once I get to the two-step equation, I can go ahead and do my best to isolate my variable using inverse operations. So if I have 5n minus 1 is 14, the opposite of subtraction is addition, so I'm going to add 1 to both sides first. This leaves me with 5n equals 15. Now 5 times n is 15. The opposite of multiplication is division. I divide by 5 on both sides, and my solution is n equals 3. So here we're going to do one together. I have 12 minus 7b plus 10b equals 18. Minus 7b and 10b are like terms. The most frequent mistake would be to say 7b plus 10b is 17b. But remember when you're combining like terms that the sign in front of the term belongs to it. So we need to treat this like it's negative 7b plus 10b. So when I combine those, I actually have 3b. And then it's a positive 3b because that 10 is positive and it's the larger number in absolute value. So I can rewrite this, and you bring down everything else you haven't used. 12 plus 3b equals 18. Now I simply have my two-step equation. To get b by itself, the first thing I can do is subtract 12 from both sides. So when I do that, 12 minus 12 is 0. And so I have 0 plus 3b, which is just 3b, equals 6. And now to get b by itself, I divide by 3 on both sides because it's the opposite of the multiplication going on here. 3 divided by 3 is 1, which is 1b. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And if I want to check, which I think is a good idea to do when you get into these longer equations, you just plug it back into the original. So I can say 12 minus 7 times 2 plus 10 times 2 equals 18. Question mark? Because I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I think I am, but I don't know. I do my multiplication first. So 12 minus, that's 14, plus 20 equals 18. I go in order from left to right. Remember not to forget that. 12 minus 14, that's negative 2, plus 20. Does that equal 18? In fact, 18 does equal 18. So we have solved it correctly. Another kind of multi-step equation that you may encounter is one that contains fractions. Now remember when I told you that fractions are fractions are just unsimplified division problems. So when you see this and it looks like this big complex fraction, don't panic because it's simply an expression being divided by something. And we know how to undo division with multiplication. So that's the state of mind you need to be in. I know the opposite of division is multiplication. I've got this. So the first thing you need to do when you approach something like this is 4x minus 8, all divided by 9 equals 12. The expression is being divided by 9. So it's almost like this is in parentheses here. You have to get rid of this division first. And I've made a note of this here for you. So we need to multiply by 9 on both sides first to undo that division. When I do this, remember that it's like 9 over 1. and that these would cross cancel and simplify to 1, this leaves me with what's left, excuse me, as this numerator, 4x minus 8. And because I have to multiply by 9 on both sides, 12 times 9 is 108. I am here. 4x minus 8 equals 108. This is a two-step equation. So at this point, you should be comfortable with solving the two-step equation. The opposite of subtraction is addition, so I add 8 to both sides. This equals 0, so I have 4x equals 108 plus 8, which is 116. And now it's 4x equals 116. This is multiplication. To undo multiplication, to isolate my variable, I need to divide. I divide by 4 on both sides. 4 divided by 4 is simply 1x, and 116 divided by 4 is 29. So x equals 29, which is my solution in this case. So here we're going to try one together. I have 3y minus 6 all divided by 7 equals 3. So remember that this is like an expression being divided. So I need to undo that division first. So I have to multiply by 7 on both sides. This leaves me with 3y minus 6 equals 21. And again, I'm just left with a two-step equation. I add 6 to both sides. 3y now equals 27. And I divide by 3 on both sides, telling me that y is equal to 9. Just like before, we can go ahead and check it. So I can say, well, if I think y equals 9, let's make sure this is true. Is 3 times 9 minus 6, all divided by 7, equal to 3? Pardon me. Well, 3 times 9 is 27, minus 6 divided by 7, does that equal 3? Well, what's 27 minus 6? That's 21. Is 21 divided by 7 3? Yes. And 3 equals 3, so we are in good shape. Lastly, we are going to take this really long problem and apply it using a multi-step equation. It's really wordy at first, but if you commit to taking it step by step and just thinking through it, you're going to be just fine, okay? Jamal owns twice as many comic books as Levi owns. Adding 6 to the number of comic books Jamal owns and then dividing by 7 gives the number Brooke owns. If Brooke owns 30 comic books, how many does Levi own? So there's a lot going on here. A lot of people own a lot of comic books. You can't give up though. The first thing you should think of is, well, what don't I know? And then build, okay? Assign a variable for your unknown. The question asks me, how many does Levi own? That's what I'm looking for. So I don't know how many Levi owns. I've never been told anything about how much Levi owns. So we're going to say Levi is the variable L. Now what do I know about Levi though? I know that Jamal owns twice as many comic books as Levi. So if Levi is L, Jamal can be 2 times L, and we can rewrite this as 2L, right? Okay, so Jamal is 2L. And we were told this crazy stuff about Jamal. Let's go back. Adding 6 to the number of comic books Jamal owns, so adding 6 to 2L, and then dividing by 7 gives the number Brooke owns. And I have this here, 2L, that's Jamal, right? Plus 6, and then dividing by 7 is Brooke. And then it says Brooke owns 30. So we can like almost substitute her name with the number 30. So this is what I've written here, but I know that that equals 30. And then look, I can solve for L, and L is how many Levi owns, okay? So 30 seconds later, a few extra synapses firing, and we have ourselves a multi-step equation. So we need to multiply by 7 on both sides first. This leaves me with 2L plus 6 equals 210. I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. 2L now equals 204. Divide by 2, and L equals 102 comic books. Okay, there you go. Does it make sense? Woo. Okay, let's see. Well, Jamal would have 204. It said 2L equals 204, and we know Jamal was 2L. So there you have it. Okay? Multi-step equations.